I am a well-known aloof beauty in the circle. My fiancé finds me pretentious and uninteresting. On the day we were supposed to get our marriage certificate. Not only did he stand me up, but he also staged a dramatic idol drama scene with a popular starlet, where she runs and he chases, and neither can escape. I turned around and got married to the notorious playboy of the Beijing circle, Little Buddha, and announced it grandly on Facebook. However, my fiancé was not calm anymore. Ethan and I have been together for 3 years, we have met each other's parents and were engaged. I thought I would naturally marry him and have children. So when he had scandals with different girls, I didn't care and even cleaned up his messes. Everyone thought I was deeply in love with Ethan. Even Ethan thought so. Being able to win over the aloof Miss Elena and make her fall deeply in love was quite an achievement, and Ethan felt very accomplished. However, on the day we were to get our marriage certificate, Ethan staged a thrilling idol drama chase with the popular starlet Serena, completely ignoring me waiting at the Civil Affairs Bureau. When I saw the trending topic, I was waiting for Ethan at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Clicking in, I saw a 10-second video uploaded by the popular starlet Serena 10 minutes ago. In the video, Serena was sitting in an expensive sports car, pouting and pretending to be angry. The camera turned to show the rapidly receding traffic outside, with another equally expensive sports car following behind. But I recognized the car behind. It was my fiancé Ethan's favorite car, and not only I, but also the netizens recognized it. The video's caption was, "Had a fight, taking my passport to the airport, boyfriend chasing madly behind. Stinky man, let's see if your bull is faster or my horse." Then came Serena's Facebook post, "Okay, his bull is faster." Accompanied by a cute and mischievous emoji. Followed by Ethan's caught up. What a great show of her running and him chasing, neither able to escape. The comment section was uniformly saying, "Oh no, I've become an NPC in a CEO novel. Can you rich people stay in your own world?" And the fans of both were ecstatic. Of course, there were also those asking me to step down. Unlike the popular starlet Serena, who is praised as the nation's daughter, I am known in the entertainment circle as a resource hog, arrogant, with very poor public appeal. So compared to me, they prefer Ethan and Serena together. I had no interest in watching further and directly called Ethan's phone. The ringtone rang for a long time before being answered, but the voice on the other end was not Ethan's. "Hello, are you looking for Ethan? He's in the shower." "Serena, stop pretending. Tell Ethan that if he doesn't come in 10 minutes, our engagement is off." After saying that, I hung up the phone directly. Soon, Ethan's message popped up. It roughly said not to bother Serena, and that we could talk about the marriage certificate later, as he couldn't leave now. I was so angry that I laughed. He couldn't leave? Probably because Serena had turned into a snake spirit and him. I didn't want to wait even 10 minutes, so I directly posted on Facebook asking if anyone wanted to get a marriage certificate with me, and attached the location of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Not long after, a black sports car appeared in front of me. The car door opened, and what came into view was a pair of straight and slender long legs, followed by a handsome face with a gentle smile, and wet hair with water dripping from the tips. "Asher?" I exclaimed in surprise. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to get the marriage certificate." Asher walked over in a few steps, with a casual smile on his lips. "Miss Elena, you wouldn't go back on your word, would you?" As he spoke, he unhurriedly took out his ID and household register from his pocket and handed them to me. "Let's go, while the Civil Affairs Bureau is still open." I got the marriage certificate with the notorious playboy of the Beijing circle, Buddha. When we came out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I was still a bit dazed until the red booklet was stuffed into my bag by the other party. Only then did I realize that I had gotten married to the notorious playboy of the Beijing circle, Buddha. It's not that I regretted it, but I just didn't expect that I would get married to Asher. Asher himself is a prominent figure in the circle. In his early years, he was involved in fighting, brawling, and racing, never missing a thing. Later, for some reason, he insisted on going to a temple to become a monk. His father had to discipline him and send him abroad for a while before he settled down. At that time, people in the circle were joking that Asher was the Buddha's son of Haicheng, but he refused, and somehow it turned into Little Buddha. Probably because this young master was too difficult to serve. Sitting in Asher's passenger seat, I asked puzzledly, "Weren't you abroad?" Asher's hair was already dry by then, because we had to take photos, and wet hair didn't look good, so he borrowed a hairdryer from the staff inside to dry it. He grabbed his hair in front of the rearview mirror, turned his head to look at me with a slight smile. "I'm back. As soon as I finished showering, I saw your Facebook post. I rushed over without even drying my hair. Luckily I didn't let you be taken away by someone else." As he said that, he suddenly leaned over, with a fresh scent on him. I subconsciously leaned back, my hands on my lap clenched tightly, but my face remained calm. Asher's face stopped only a few centimeters away from mine. Perhaps because he had just showered, his lips looked particularly rosy and kissable. "Seatbelt." In the next moment, his rosy lips moved, and Asher's lips curved slightly as he pulled the seatbelt and buckled it for me. Then, he sat back in his seat, humming a tune happily as he drove. I pretended to be calm and turned my head to look out the window, seeing my slightly red cheeks. This guy is quite flirtatious. Ethan was still drinking at the bar. This drinking session was organized to calm down the protagonists Ethan and Serena after their thrilling chase scene. So Serena was also there. Seeing that Ethan had drunk a lot, Serena hypocritically approached him again. "Ethan, maybe I should go explain to Sister Elena. If it weren't for me today, you wouldn't have stood her up." Ethan shook his head. "It has nothing to do with you. It's just getting a certificate. Anyway, the Civil Affairs Bureau is open every day. Elena won't be so unreasonable." Serena opened her mouth, wanting to say something, when she heard someone nearby exclaim, "Ethan, look quickly, the Facebook post from your wife." Everyone around looked at him nervously. Ethan impatiently took it and looked, stunned. It was Elena's Facebook post from an hour ago, asking if anyone wanted to get a marriage certificate with her. Ethan sneered and threw the phone back, another one of those playing hard to get tricks. Seeing that Ethan didn't care, everyone also thought it was just Elena's angry words. After all, they had seen how much Elena loved Ethan. How could she let go so easily? Only the younger brother who handed the phone to Ethan touched his head, remembering that Ethan's other women did like to play hard to get, but his wife had never done that. But he didn't say it out loud. He just asked, "Ethan, aren't you really worried that your wife might be serious?" Before he could finish, someone next to him kicked him. Ethan snorted, "Elena is so self-righteous and uninteresting. Besides me, who would want her? Moreover, she's stubborn like an old antique. Once she sets her mind on something, she won't change." Ethan deliberately caused such a scene on the day of getting the certificate because he found Elena uninteresting and unable to please him. Even after 3 years together, Elena had never taken the initiative once. He just wanted Elena to know that her emotional rigidity wouldn't win his favor. Moreover, he understood Elena, perhaps because of her upbringing with classical instruments and family values. She was single-minded and wouldn't let it go once she set her mind on something. Even so, when Ethan thought about that Facebook post, he still felt a bit uncomfortable. He excused himself to go to the bathroom but actually went to call Elena. When I received Ethan's call, I had just finished dinner with Asher and was on my way back. As soon as I answered, Ethan's impatient voice came through. "Stop making a fuss, Elena. There's nothing between me and Serena, I'm just helping her gain some popularity. You know it's not easy for Serena to make it in the entertainment industry alone." "Oh, then go ahead and help her with the hype," I replied calmly. Calling her Serena so affectionately. "Can you not be so aggressive? I've told you there's nothing between us. You never used to be so unreasonable." Ethan frowned slightly, vaguely feeling that Elena seemed different, but he didn't think much of it, still quite confident in himself. Hearing Ethan's words, I almost laughed. So, not licking his boots anymore is being unreasonable? How ridiculous. If you have something to say, say it quickly, I'm busy. I looked up at Asher waiting ahead and said impatiently. Ethan paused, perhaps thinking of something, and softened his tone. Tomorrow at 9 in the morning, come to get the certificate. But when he said this, he still had a tone of bestowing a favor, as if letting me get the certificate with him was a great bargain for me. I looked at Asher and smiled. Sorry, I've already gotten the certificate. You can take your little darling to get it. After saying that, I hung up the phone directly. I rarely hung up on Ethan because I was in the entertainment industry and often didn't have time to accompany him, so I almost always catered to his needs. Whenever there was a conflict, I was the one to make amends, even waiting for him to hang up first. Friends said that it didn't seem like he pursued me, it seemed like I was the one licking his boots. But at that time I didn't care, thinking that being tolerant in a relationship was normal. So when I hung up on him for the first time, Ethan was stunned, followed by a surge of anger. Fine, Elena, let's see how long she can hold out this time. Saying things like she's already gotten the marriage certificate just to anger him. Ethan ran his hand through his hair, no longer in the mood to stay, and drove home. Asher drove me home. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw Asher also getting out. What's up? I looked at him puzzled. Asher pointed upstairs and pretended to be aggrieved, asking, "Won't you invite me up for a sit?" The usually unrestrained young master showing such a pitiful look was quite rare. I looked at him and nodded slightly, then come up for a sit. After all, Asher and I had already gotten the certificate, and we still needed to cultivate our relationship. It's not that there was no affection between Ethan and me. When he pursued me, he was very serious and persistent, chasing me for over a year before I chose to be with him. After we got together, he was very good to me, once even considered a model boyfriend. He even gave up his favorite parties and entertainment for me because I preferred quiet. Later on, I heard him complaining to his friends that I was too boring, just having a good appearance but not as exciting and interesting as other women. That didn't matter, I was supposed to have a business marriage anyway, just choosing someone I found pleasing. Ethan was indeed sincere to me back then. I didn't feel much about Ethan's later actions, perhaps I never expected him to be faithful, and the marriage between the Sue and Gu families was indeed a good choice. Unfortunately, Ethan couldn't see through it and thought it was true love. Since he was so foolish, for the future of the Sue family, it's better to forget it. I was quite open-minded about it, just didn't expect to get married to Asher. Looking at the man in front of me with his upper body exposed, my eyes darkened. Asher's figure was really good, with broad shoulders, narrow waist, inverted triangle, and six-pack abs. His skin was very fair, almost glowing under the light. I was originally pouring him a glass of water, but in the moment I turned around, he accidentally spilled water on himself. Seeing me staring at him intently, Asher raised an eyebrow and strode over. I quickly averted my gaze, feeling my cheeks getting hot. If you want to look, just look openly. We've already gotten the certificate, I'm all yours. Asher leaned over and said in my ear, with a smile in his voice, magnetic and low, the moist heat brushing against my ear, as if he was speaking with my ear in his mouth. I hurriedly reached out to push him away with both hands, but Asher grabbed my hands instead, pinching them gently. Elena, don't you really want to look? Asher's voice was low as he held my hands and pushed me onto the sofa, confining me in this small space. My held hands were guided by him to touch the muscles on his abdomen, my fingertips delicately feeling his skin. I shifted my gaze from his six-pack abs, lifted my eyes, and directly met Asher's eyes filled with desire, my throat moving slightly. I could clearly see his gaze falling on my lips. My heart tightened suddenly, and my usually calm and beautiful eyes stared straight at Asher, but my hands almost couldn't resist pushing him away and fleeing. Fortunately, at that moment, a series of urgent doorbell rings came from outside. Asher's expression changed, almost instinctively wanting to curse, but seeing that I still had no reaction, he was about to continue leaning down to kiss me regardless, but his lips were blocked by my hand. Go check first, I said, pretending to be calm. This guy is really hard to resist when he's serious. Asher kissed the palm of my hand, then got up angrily to confront the person outside who had ruined his moment. Seeing that he really intended to go out shirtless, I quickly pulled him back, looking at him with a bit of a headache. Go put on some clothes first. After sending him to get dressed, I went to open the door. However, standing outside was none other than Ethan. Stop making a fuss, Elena. Ethan saw me and rubbed his forehead with a headache. He looked a bit tired and smelled of alcohol. There's really nothing between me and Serena. Today, the little girl drove onto the highway in a fit of anger, and I was afraid something might happen to her, so I chased after her and didn't make it to the Civil Affairs Bureau. You don't need to explain anything to me, I interrupted Ethan calmly. You didn't explain before, and you don't need to now. From now on, you can devote yourself to your little girl and don't appear in front of me again. After saying that, I was about to close the door, but Ethan directly stuck his foot in to block it. He frowned, finally losing patience. Elena, what more do you want? I've already said. Who's Elena? Asher's voice suddenly sounded, and Ethan immediately fell silent, his eyes fixed on the man walking from behind me, as if they could spit fire. Asher was scheming. I told him to put on some clothes, and he chose a shirt with a very large collar, revealing a large area of snow-white skin with some red marks on it. The corner of my mouth twitched. I remember I didn't use much force, this guy must have done it himself. Elena. Who is he? In the next second, Ethan's angry voice came. Let me introduce, my marriage certificate partner, Asher. I pulled Asher over to introduce him. Asher waved at Ethan with a smile. Hello, ex-husband. Ethan glared at Asher, ignored him, and continued to say to me, putting on such a complete act, Elena, you're impressive. I was confused, not understanding what this guy in front of me was saying, but then I heard him say, but the person you found is too low class. Young Master Xia is such a player, do you think you can handle him? He looked at me with disdain, his tone impatient. Look at yourself, uninteresting and arrogant. Who could you possibly attract? Only I can tolerate you, and you still find someone to put on an act. I'm starting to doubt Ethan's status as a top student. Is this really something a high achiever would say? Seeing Ethan talking more and more nonsense, I was extremely annoyed and directly took out the marriage certificate and slapped it on Ethan's face. Ethan looked at the marriage certificate and was stunned on the spot. Just when I thought he finally believed it, he grabbed my hand and tried to pull me outside, but was quickly stopped by Asher beside me. What are you doing? Asher forcefully pried Ethan's hand off mine, his brows furrowed enough to kill a fly. Stealing my wife right in front of me? Asher. It's not your place to interfere in matters between Elena and me. Did your brain get squeezed by the door when you went out, Ethan? Elena is now my wife. Before he could finish speaking, Ethan directly threw a punch. Asher wasn't a pushover either, in fact, he was known for fighting and brawling in his early years, so he was naturally tougher than Ethan. When I finally managed to separate them, Ethan's face was already covered in bruises, while Asher, though also injured, was relatively fine. Are you okay? I quickly pulled Asher to check carefully, frowning with worry. Let's go to the hospital. I'm fine, no need to go to the hospital. Asher held my hand and shook his head. Elena. Seeing me so concerned about Asher, Ethan felt very uncomfortable. I used to be like this only towards him. But I didn't want to deal with him anymore, I just wanted to take Asher inside to treat his wounds quickly. Ethan still didn't give up. Elena, divorce him. As long as you divorce, I'll immediately get the certificate with you. I looked at Ethan as if he were crazy and continued to help Asher inside. Seeing that I ignored him, Ethan became anxious again. Elena, don't regret it. I directly closed the door, out of sight, out of mind. Ethan was still babbling, fine. Don't even think about getting that piece of land from the Su family. I'd like to see how the Su family can stand in Haicheng without the Gu family. Ethan gritted his teeth and left after saying these harsh words. I didn't care, but after thinking about it, I still took a photo of the marriage certificate and posted it on Facebook. Although I didn't care, Asher did. What land was he talking about? I used a cotton swab to disinfect the cut on Asher's face and replied nonchalantly. That piece of land in the west of the city, it's going to be turned into a commercial street. My dad is very interested, but the land is in Ethan's hands. I should have secured the land first, I murmured. But Asher suddenly grabbed my hand. Just for this piece of land, you're going to sell yourself? Not entirely. The Gu family and my family have many collaborations. In the early years, when the Su family had cash flow problems, we did rely on the Gu family's help to some extent. But now it's not necessary anymore. The Su family has long been independent. It's Ethan who can't see clearly. He's not unable to see clearly, Asher interrupted me, he's insecure. After plucking the moon, he doesn't cherish it and complains that the moon is too cold and unapproachable. It's clearly him who doesn't appreciate his blessings. Taking advantage of your kindness to bully you. Asher became more and more indignant as he spoke. I somewhat amusedly held him down and continued to apply medicine to him. Alright, now everything has nothing to do with him anymore. I won't have anything to do with him in the future. But he was right about one thing, I am indeed uninteresting. I paused in my actions, looked up at Asher. Asher smiled slightly, leaned closer to me again, it's okay, I do. His warm lips brushed against my earlobe, and his low, magnetic voice sounded again, I'll seduce you. Ethan didn't bother me again, but his little lover Serena asked to meet me. The meeting place was at a coffee shop. The dress Serena was wearing was the new style that Ethan had just brought back from abroad a few days ago, originally for me. Now she was wearing it, probably to deliberately anger me. She deliberately showed it off before elegantly sitting down. Miss Elena, I hope you can leave Ethan and stop pestering him. He doesn't love you. I let out a light "oh" and retorted with a smile, why don't you ask who is pestering whom, Miss Serena? I remember I said that I've already gotten the certificate. Serena was stunned for a moment upon hearing this, you've already gotten the certificate? I nodded, feeling that this woman in front of me had nothing interesting to say, and was about to leave when she called me again. Then don't appear in front of Ethan anymore. Elena, the one who is not loved is the mistress. From now on, I will be Ethan's wife. I looked back at Serena, you better keep an eye on Ethan and make sure he doesn't appear in front of me. After saying that, I turned and left. As soon as I came out, I saw a car parked outside the coffee shop. Seeing me come out, the car door opened, and Asher got out. Finished talking? Asher asked. I nodded. Asher said as he held my hand and walked towards the passenger seat, then let's go. I booked a nice private restaurant, let's go eat first. Serena saw me getting into the same car intimately with a strange man and immediately took out her phone to take several photos. She sent all the photos to Ethan, cleared her throat, and then sent a voice message in a coquettish tone, Ethan, is Sister Elena still angry with me? I saw her getting into the same car with a strange man. Could she be deceived? After sending the voice message, Serena happily waited for Ethan's reply, but she waited for a long time and didn't see any message from Ethan. Feeling a bit puzzled, but Serena didn't care, she was now going to have fun in her new haute couture outfit. On the other side, Ethan did see those photos and angrily smashed everything at hand. Fine, Elena, you refuse the toast only to drink the forfeit. I'd like to see if that playboy can protect you. Someone, stop all collaborations with the Su family. Target the Su family. In Haicheng, any family that dares to cooperate with the Su family is opposing our Gu family. Rebid that piece of land. Ethan's fingertips tapped lightly on the desk, a glint of determination flashing in his eyes. He'd like to see how long Elena could hold out. Asher and I had just finished dinner when my dad's call came through. He first asked me who I was with now. I told him the truth directly. My dad was silent for a while before saying, the Gu family has stopped all collaborations with us and said that anyone who cooperates with the Su family is opposing the Gu family. Now several of our family's collaborations have fallen through. What do you think? I glanced at Asher over there. What else did he say? He said that as long as you divorce, things can go back to how they were before. I chuckled and asked, then what do you think? The person on the other end of the phone also laughed. I only look at who can bring greater benefits to our Sue family. Alright, I understand. After saying that, I hung up the phone. What's wrong? Asher came over and asked. I looked Asher up and down, a smile curling at the corner of my lips. There's a deal. Would young Master Asher like to do it? The current Sue family does have some capabilities, but going head-to-head with the Gu family is not a wise move, and there are still many companies outside watching. So, I thought simply, since I've already gotten the certificate with Asher, we can be considered to have a marriage alliance. It's wise for the Sue and Xia families to join forces. Asher listened to me seriously, his gaze towards me carrying a bit of complexity. So, we are now in a marriage alliance? I nodded. Asher fell silent. After a while, he finally gave up resisting. Alright, a marriage alliance is better than nothing. Asher looked at me with some resentment. I smiled slightly at him. This is a win-win deal. I believe the Xia family won't refuse. However, I didn't expect to be cyberbullied. There was a quite famous blogger online who made a post to bash me, saying that I pretended to be aloof, relied on Ethan's connections to grab resources and act like a diva in the entertainment industry, not only stealing Serena's roles multiple times but also bullying her on set, just because Ethan didn't like me but was close to Serena. The last one is about me cheating on my boyfriend. The photo shows me and Asher from behind. It must be Serena's. People on the internet are scolding me. Outwardly, Ethan always maintained a cold persona, acting indifferent to me, so many people thought I was the one who pursued him, except for some insiders who knew the truth. I originally thought Ethan was just like that outside, but later I realized he was insecure, and creating the illusion that I pursued him greatly satisfied his vanity. Asher also saw those rumors. These people are sick, saying you pursued Ethan? Does he deserve it? He cursed angrily. I'll contact the company to handle it. Wait, don't, I quickly stopped Asher. It's just small fuss, we'll deal with it all at once at the banquet in a few days. In a few days, there's a charity banquet where I will appear. By then, the rumors will collapse on their own, and I will also release Serena's dirt. Since she dared to act wildly over me, she should be prepared to be dealt with. But on the day of the banquet, Asher was called away by his family. I don't know exactly what it was about, but it's probably because of our marriage. After all, young Master Xia's marriage also has great commercial value. I didn't pay much attention. Anyway, Asher would handle it well. If he couldn't handle it, then I would have to reconsider our relationship. I entered with a friend, and as soon as we went in, we saw Ethan and Serena. Knowing about my situation with Ethan, my friend whispered bad luck in my ear with disgust. I smiled slightly and didn't say anything. Ethan was probably bringing Serena to expand her social connections. He was good to her. He was throwing all kinds of resources at her without cost, and now he was using his identity to help her build connections. Seeing my arrival, Ethan was stunned, a flash of amazement in his eyes, and then he somewhat unnaturally let go of Serena's hand. Serena, where he couldn't see, gave me a venomous look. Today, I was wearing a crescent-colored cheongsam with exquisite embroidery, which, combined with my figure, made me look graceful as I walked, attracting many gazes since I entered. It was very much like the style when Miss Elena first made her debut. Soon, Serena suppressed the jealousy in her eyes and immediately put on a pitiful expression, biting her lip, looking at Ethan and then at me. Sister Elena, why are you here? Recently, there are so many negative rumors about you online. Are you here to ask Ethan to help you clarify? Serena said innocently with her big eyes wide open. My friend beside me was so angry that she almost slapped Serena in the face. I held back my friend who was eager to act and gave Serena a nonchalant smile. No need for Miss Serena to worry. Miss Serena, you should keep an eye on your sugar daddy. There are many little white flowers like you in the entertainment industry. Don't lift a rock only to drop it on your own feet and have your sugar daddy stolen away. Stop making a fuss, Elena. A hint of impatience flashed between Ethan's brows. He reached out to pull me, but I dodged, and instantly Ethan's face became extremely ugly. Ethan, don't get handsy. Have you forgotten that we have no relationship anymore? I have a fiancé now, so I need to consciously keep a distance from the opposite sex. I looked at Ethan with a faint smile on my lips. Ethan's gaze was fixed on me. He was trying hard to endure, but in public, he couldn't do anything. It was the first time he felt that I was so sharp-tongued. Has Elena already gotten the certificate? It seems to be with that young master from the Xie family. Wasn't she with Ethan? How did she get the certificate with young Master Xie? Could it be that what was said online is true? Hasn't Ethan always been fooling around outside? Only Elena could tolerate it. If it were me, I would have torn apart the scumbag and the bitch long ago. How could I let them dance in front of me? I say Elena is too love-brained. Even though she finally got the person she pursued, as the eldest miss of the Su family, she doesn't need to be so aggrieved. Who told you that Elena pursued Ethan? It was clearly Ethan who shamelessly pursued Elena. Back then, the eldest miss of the Su family was as aloof as the moon in the pond, with her pipa playing. She was stunning in Haicheng, the white moonlight in many people's hearts. Hearing the whispers around, Ethan couldn't keep his face. I smiled slightly in response to Serena's words. No need for Miss Serena to worry. I am indeed going to perform on stage today. But the purpose of the performance is not to attract a sugar daddy, as Serena said. The organizer of this banquet has some connections with the Su family. They had approached me long ago to discuss the opening performance, probably because they saw that I hadn't performed on stage for a long time, and they were tactful in their words. It was I who took the initiative to say it was okay. I wanted to put an end to all those past events related to Ethan and give myself a fresh start. So, after 3 years of a relationship with Ethan that was ridiculed by the outside world for a long time, I picked up my pipa again. What did Ethan say back then? He said he didn't want me to play the pipa anymore because it made me look like a performer. He would never allow his other half to be jokingly called a performer. Miss Elena should have her own pride. At that time, I thought he was really looking out for me. But ironically, Ethan pursued me precisely because he saw me playing the pipa. The video of me playing the pipa at the banquet was spread online. I was already trending due to being bashed by the entire internet, and this video caused an even bigger stir. Those who were bashing me became even more frenzied. What era is it, still playing the pipa? Playing the pipa is like playing cotton. An actress is indeed an actress, better to quit the industry soon. This scene. Elena isn't looking for another sugar daddy after being abandoned by Ethan, is she? Can this bullying sister get out of the entertainment industry? The atmosphere in the entertainment industry is corrupted by people like her. Elena, go home and farm. Fortunately, our Serena and Ethan have finally made it. The comment section was full of paid posters, with only a few scattered comments praising my playing and posture, which were quickly drowned out by the army of comments. But soon, netizens noticed something was off. First, the veteran artist Mrs. Daisy directly came to my defense. She was the teacher who taught me to play the pipa. She said it had been a long time since she saw me play and thought I might be rusty, but unexpectedly, I was as good as ever. Then, various marketing accounts released videos to clear my name, and many directors and actors who had worked with me personally came forward to clarify for me. Just as everyone was still wondering why so many people were speaking up for me and what abilities I had, another hot search popped up. It was the news of the marriage alliance between the Xie family and the Su family in Haicheng. Clicking in, the homepage prominently featured photos of me and Asher, including those previously used to accuse me of cheating. Only then did everyone realize that I was the eldest miss of the Su family. Since I was the eldest miss of the Su family, did I need a sugar daddy? I could be my own sugar daddy. Thus, in a short time, the entertainment industry's wind direction completely shifted to one side. Then, the dirt on the popular starlet Serena was brought up, with the most serious one being hers. Netizens were shocked, and in an instant, our reputations reversed. I knew that the power of the Su and Xie families was behind this, so I didn't bother anymore. Watching this was less interesting than watching Serena's face change. Miss Serena, regarding the rumors you spread about me before, I have already contacted a lawyer to collect evidence. See you in court later. I looked at Serena and smiled slightly. At this point, her face was pale, and she stared at me incredulously, as if trying to see through me. Impossible. How could you be the eldest miss of the Sue family? Ethan said you were just a boring and dull vase. As she said this, she quickly turned her head to look at Ethan, seemingly wanting to seek confirmation from him. Unfortunately, Ethan couldn't even take care of himself now. The land his family had acquired at a high price had issues, and the commercial street that was supposed to be developed there was cancelled, meaning Ethan had bought a piece of land with little commercial value at a high price. Now, the two of them could go farming. At this moment, the light suddenly dimmed. Before the people present could react to what was happening, they saw Asher walking out from the darkness with a beam of light on him. He walked up to me, knelt on one knee, his eyes sincere and warm. Asher confessed his love to me and formally proposed. The atmosphere was perfect, and I stood on tiptoe to kiss him. Seeing Ethan nearby with a face as black as charcoal, his teeth almost grinding to pieces. Only now did he fully realize that I really didn't want him anymore. Moreover, the Sue and Sia families joining forces would compete with the Gu family for resources. Ethan was going to have a tough battle ahead.